Patty Weltin from the Rare Disease Foundation.
Rare Disease United Foundation.
So,
I'm
and
the CEO
founder.
And founder.
Yeah.
Because my daughter has a rare disease.
And then we have Kris here.
I'm Kris Cambra. I'm the Director of Biomedical Communications at Brown's Alfred Medical School.
And a mom of a rare disease patient.
Yes.
How do you feel about the word hope when somebody says to you, I hope she feels better?
Or I hope for a treatment. Hope without action for me is meaningless. It's like throwing a coin into a fountain and making a wish. Everyone has a certain level of hope, but you have to believe. And you also, in our space, in the rare disease space, you have to act. Everyone needs to act. Everyone needs to advocate for themselves and to cross disease and work together, because there's 80 million of us fighting for treatments and fighting to be seen and to be heard, and together, that will work. But just to say, I hope things get better, or I'm going to hope for a treatment. I'm not hoping for a treatment for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I am going to find a treatment. If no one will do the treatment, then I will start my own pharmaceutical company, and I will make a treatment for my daughters. This is the way we live. There are plenty of families that do that have started pharmaceutical companies, they have raised millions of dollars just for research. And it's really a parent and family-driven space. There is barrier after barrier after barrier, and I just had one slam down on me yesterday, and I had my moment of, okay, I was disappointed, I was upset, and then I started, okay, how do I get over this? How do I get around it, over it, under it, whatever I need to do, I'm going to get past this barrier.
So Kris, tell us how this has impacted Brown University in a little more detail.
What's very interesting is that Brown is rare in terms of how they approach medical education. They have always embraced what we call a liberal approach to medical education in terms of humanism in medicine, in that, for example, students in the undergraduate college at Brown can be admitted to the medical school as high school seniors, and that's a program called the Program in Liberal Medical Education. And the reason why they do that is to encourage them to take any class that they want to take art, to take languages, to travel abroad, so that they're not stuck studying for the MCATs for 4 years. If they know that they want to go to medical school, they know they need good grades, they need to be a typical pre-med. It really alleviates all of that for them so that they can pursue the broadest, most liberal education that they can pursue, with the mission that at the end of that, they will be better doctors because they will understand the human condition better. They will have studied art. We've for years done programs with RISD, having students, both undergraduate and medical students, going over to the RISD Museum and learning how to look at paintings and really how to study and take notice of paintings, and all coming back to the patient, that this is going to help them relate to patients, to understand people who may be very different from them, and help them be more aware of the whole person. And so having an art exhibit at the medical school, perhaps Patty didn't realize this is actually the most normal and most natural thing to do at Brown, because we espouse that approach in everything that we do. We're planning a new course in humanism in medicine that will actually be a master's degree for people who are just interested in exploring that side of medicine. So we really believe that is a valid way and a valuable way to teach medical students about medicine.
So these are some of the paintings that were in the first Beyond the Diagnosis art exhibit at Brown. We first showed them at Brown University, Alfred Medical School.
From the moment we brought the paintings into the building, we started having a reaction. Patty was here with us. We were hanging the paintings. Students were coming out of classes, stopping by and saying, "What's that? What's going on?" And it gave her an opportunity to interact with them and see firsthand what they were thinking. And then over the course of the month that the paintings stayed up, I was constantly hearing, "Those paintings are so amazing." And then they would say, and then when I read about the person, about the kids, the families, it was so nice to get to know them as more of a person than just hearing about their disease.
This is Connor and Malia. They have Sandoff syndrome, and this was painted by Ian Bianchi. And this was painted by Pam Reed Dooley. This was painted by Lucas Colossus. Yeah, I can't pronounce his last name. Anyway, Lucas did this with a syringe. He did it one drop at a time. This is Jason. He's undiagnosed. This is Juliana. She was painted by Vivian McNeely, and she asked for several paintings. She asked for several pictures of Juliana, and this is Goodnight Moon. If you look around, there's little excerpts from Goodnight Moon, which happens to be, by coincidence, Juliana's favorite book.
How is it that you were able to connect with this whole exhibit?
Sure. I am the director of biomedical communications at Brown, and we had just embarked on an idea of bringing in art into the medical school. And coincidentally, one of our faculty members that knows Patty put her in touch with my office. And so she called me and she told me about Beyond the Diagnosis.
You know, medical schools, or except for Brown, who has been just really progressive and really open to, this is the future. I mean, especially with precision medicine. You know, they're going to find everybody's rare. You know, we're not uncommon. The word rare leaves people with the feeling that we're uncommon, but there's 30 million Americans with a rare disease, and there's 80 million directly impacted, including caregivers. It's just not understood that we are common, and that also that studying rare diseases leads to better treatment for more common diseases. So it's a win-win for everybody. When you have a child that has a rare disease, or you live with a rare disease, you have to have a collaborative relationship with your doctor, because they can't be proficient, and there are 7,000 different rare diseases. They can't know all of the rare diseases. So many of us, or most of us, become experts in our disease or our child's disease. And, you know, our relationship really has to be a back and forth with whomever. You know, my daughter has 19 specialists. I don't know how many that Truman has, but, you know, we often have a lot of specialists that we have to talk to, and it has to be a collaboration. It has to be a give and take. They need to open up and listen to us. And I think seeing the patients as people and not as some, you know, strange diagnosis that they are likely not to run into over the course of their medical career makes it all the more important. And, you know, like Kris was saying, when we were hanging these exhibits up, you know, these kids were coming by, the students, and they were just amazed. And they were saying, I said, "What do you see?" And they said, "You know, I see a beautiful little boy." The idea for the art exhibit came from a young woman whose mom is on our board, and she said, "I'd like to paint one of your rare disease patients." And then I started reaching out to artists, you know, like clearly Natalia couldn't, you know, paint 20 portraits. So I reached out to you, and I spoke to you on the phone. I was like, I'm going to call Wickford Art Association and see if they can get me some artists that might be interested. And, you know, you asked me to email you more details. And because I've been brushed off too many times to count, I just assumed that it was a brush off, and so I didn't send you any information. I didn't send any more information, and then one day, you guys called me back. So when the artist, my phone was ringing off the hook, and it was all artists calling, amazing artists, you know, that really wanted to, they wanted to give everything to it. I mean, all of these paintings were donated. All of the time that they put into this, all of their talent was donated. So for them to do it over again and ask for, you know, they wanted the story. They wanted the story of the person to put their heart into the painting.